Heck yeah. Welcome, Facebook friends, to our event. I have real friends here too, which is really fun. And we are excited that you're joining us live via Facebook. Okay, that awkward introduction done. Thank you guys so much for being here on a Saturday morning. This event was really just because I had this desire. I feel like in the winter time it can be really easy to, after the holidays are done and you just get into your busy everyday January, the days can be a little gray, a little cold, slightly depressing. And I think sometimes as Christians we forget the greatest thing that we have is the gift of the joy of the Lord. And I'm so passionate, that's why I started coming alive, is that if we know a God who is alive, then we should feel and be fully alive. Now that doesn't mean, unfortunately, that we get to live a health, wealth, and prosperity, everything. Oh, I'm like way off the camera. Sorry, Facebook friends. I'm a walker, okay. It does not mean, Jesus said, I came to give you life and life abundantly. And then he also says, and take heart, you're going to have troubles, but take heart, peace I leave with you. So I wanted something in the middle of the winter to just encourage myself and us to remember we have a God who's alive and the joy of the Lord is truly our strength. I was just reading in Nehemiah and chapter 8 where that verse is, and I never actually paid a lot of attention to what was around that verse, but that verse says the joy of the Lord is our strength, is that the people had come together and they were reading the law for the first time in a long, long time, and the people were all solemn and sad, and the priests were like, no, take heart, the joy of the Lord is our strength. So today, I want us to laugh together and think about the fact that he is alive and he's working in us and through us, and I'm just so happy to see y'all. I mean, I feel like Silverdale St. Elmo, a big little, they all showed up, thank you. I have friends that I teach yoga with, my family, they come to everything. They're the best. My Israel roommate, my dear friend Jency, and then her friend who rescued me once on the side of the road with a flat tire, which several of you have done. But she for real did. I was, just a short God story, I was in North Carolina, had gone for a riding weekend, was working on a book that I'm still working on, have been for 3 years, it's not done, but I was working on that book, and it's in the middle of nowhere on the top of this mountain, and I was in my minivan, Opal the Odyssey, which if you happen to have this book, you will find out how God had given me Opal the Odyssey with the bright purple steering wheel. It didn't come with that. I bought that at Goodwill. But God's provision and Opal the Odyssey. So I had driven up to North Carolina to the top of this mountain. And on the way down the gravel mountain, my minivan ran over something and I lost a tire. Down to it was not drivable. So I'm on the side of the road at a church parking lot that I was able to pull over. I had no idea how to use a jack, where to find the jack. How to raise a minivan with a jack, and I forgot to tell you that this place had no cell phone service, none, or people. So I was there on the side of the road just praying, help me Jesus. And all of a sudden somebody drove by and they turned around and came to the parking lot, and she was in that car. They saw me stranded in the parking lot, and they're like, we're here to help. What do you need? I'm like, well, first of all, they caught me trying. I didn't have the emergency brake on, don't tell my dad, because he taught me better than that. And I was trying to fix the tire, and they came and they're, oh, this will not do. So they changed the tire for me, and I was able to leave. And it was so amazing because the Lord reminded me in that moment, and this is a perfect way to start, because a lot of this book is the reminder of 3 things. God sees you, he knows you, and he loves you. And sometimes, to be honest, it could be, if we didn't have all 3 of those together, a little scary to think that God sees us. Because there are all things that we would like to hide at times. From the Lord, from each other, sins, maybe y'all don't sin, I don't know. But I probably did 15 times before I got out of bed this morning. There are times that we want to hide. And so it would be scary that God sees us, but what's amazing is that he not only sees us, he knows us. And he not only knows us, he couples that with the fact that he loves us. And throughout this book, Confessions of a Coffee Cup Collector, that was the thing, more than anything I wanted to thread throughout, is the reminder in your story and in my story, God is weaving his glory for his story throughout mine to reflect him. And that is so freeing because he's already written the ending and the middle, and he sees, knows, and loves me. And so I want to read to you from Psalms 139. Clint hasn't pulled out the real estate book yet, so I'm glad he's not bored. He told me if he gets bored, he'll pull out the real estate book, so watch out. Psalms 139 is a familiar passage, but I just want to encourage you to hear it today as if you never have, because it's an amazing promise from the Lord. Well, full of promises from the Lord, but I love this part. It says in verse 7, "Where shall I go from your spirit, or where shall I flee from your presence?" Anybody ever tried to flee at times? Where? We can't. It says, "If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me." Even on that dirt road in the middle of nowhere. I don't even know what state I was in. North Carolina? I don't know. You know, me and geography, it's not the best. And so even there, the Lord's hand guided me and saw me and knew me, and he sent a rescue for me because he's a rescuing kind of God. Not just for flat tires, but for our circumstances, for our seasons, for our situations. That was good. That was like a 3 S's right there. Like a Baptist preacher. Todd taught me well. But it goes on to say, "You formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. My frame was not hidden from you. How precious to me are your thoughts. How vast is the sum of them. If I would count them, they are more than the sand. I awake and I'm still with you." God is thinking about us so much that he sent his son for us so that he could have a relationship with us. And sometimes we as Christians that becomes so normal that we forget. He sees us, he knows us, and he loves us. And today he sees you, he knows you, he loves you, and all your days are ordained by him, it says in that passage. So this book, I kept having people say, I have a lot, in case you haven't met me for more than 5 minutes, I have a lot of unfortunate situations that crack me. I live the most funny life, and it's not because I try, it just happens. And I've often had people ask me to write a book about my adventures and my stories of faith and what the Lord has taught me, including all these crazy situations. But I kind of rebelled against it for a good long time, because who wants to read a book about yourself? You know, but I felt like the Lord really laid on my heart. So the one thing, everybody collects something, whether you mean to or not. Some of you have ended up with the magnets. Don't tell me if you have the shot glasses, and I'm not going to judge you, but I mean, we all collect something, whether, you know, I went through a stage where you just do, you collect things, whether you know it or not. Well, I collect coffee mugs, which if you've been to my house, you know, I may not have a bowl to give you your chili, but by golly, you can have it in a coffee mug. Because I have, when I wrote this book, there was 50, there are now may or may not be 70-ish in my house. And I collect these, and each coffee mug I have, I make myself only keep it if it has a story. So I can't just keep it if it's a plain old, you know, just cute mug. It has to have a story, or of a person, or an event, or a place, which somehow I can make a story out of all of them, which is why I have 70. But I collect these memories, and when I was thinking about this book, it's the idea that we all collect memories of our past, our present, what is happening, and it's what we do with the stories of faith that God is building in our hearts to reflect him. If we will pause and look at those Monday moments on the Monday when you just wake up and you're going to work, and then on the crazy days when I'll tell you some fun stories when you may or may not, you know, catch an outhouse on fire and burn it to the ground in a village that didn't have another one. On both of those days, the glory of the Lord's story weaving throughout, we can collect those moments and come back to again and again and again. God sees us, he knows us, he loves us, and he has numbered our days for us. And he is writing the pages between birth and the end for his glory story, not my own. And when I'm trying to live for my own glory story, I get insecure, I can't do it right, I get afraid, I get full of the lies of the enemy. But when I'm living my story for his glory living through my story, then I can trust I am fearfully and wonderfully made. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and all the days ordained for us are for him and for what he wants to do here through us. So the first story that I want to tell you from, this is not a, you know, unashamed commercial for this book. It really is. Confessions of a Coffee Cup Collector. Actually, I'm really bad at selling the books. The board tells me that all the time. They won't let me near my book table because I just give them all away. So see me if you want a free one. But the first story I wanted to tell you is, Ginger will love this. So I have kind of a thing, some animal stories. When I went to Israel, Ginger, I've been a few times, there was a place that you could pay to either ride a camel, or there was at one point, Israel's real smart, they're going to really capitalize on the tourism. So you could pay to ride a donkey on the Palm Sunday walk. And my team was all encouraging me to ride this donkey because they're like, if anybody's going to do it, it needs to be Jen. She needs to ride the donkey, pay for it. And I just laughed and I told them, this is not a good idea, because it brought me back to the time I did pay to ride a donkey. I was in Bangladesh, which I thought you said is called Bangladesh. Don't be confused, apparently. I was pronouncing it wrong my whole life. Not that I ever pronounced it. I mean, it didn't come up. But if it had, Bangladesh, I was there doing some mission work. And we had the opportunity, first of all, Nepal, I had lived there. I was living there. Nepal was landlocked, no water. Really, there's some dirty rivers. But we were in Bangladesh, there's an ocean. I got so excited, you could have told me anything and I would have go for it in the ocean. Well, they had these donkeys there that you could pay to ride at the ocean. It sounded so romantic, like, not romantic isn't the right word, but like something from a movie. And so I'm like, yes, I'm gonna pay to ride this donkey through the ocean. Like, you don't go deep, but just, I pictured the donkey just running with the waves lapping. So they don't run. Well, this one probably wish it had, because this donkey, I looked at it, I'm like, this is a malnourished donkey. You could see its ribs. It wasn't looking the healthy, strong donkey-like. But I paid the guy the money. My friend did. We both get on the donkey, and things are going well for a little bit. It's fun. The donkey's clumping through the ocean, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, I'm in the ocean. Waves are no longer lapping at the donkey; they're lapping over me. And like, what happened? Did the donkey trip? Did the donkey fall? The donkey's on top of me. No, the donkey didn't trip. The donkey didn't fall. The donkey died. I really wish I was making this up. Apparently, my donkey was a little malnourished, and I am not. So, next thing you know, the donkey can no longer bear the weight of me. I don't know if you've ever had to deal with that in therapy about causing a donkey to die. But I'm going to tell you, it will do a little number on your self-esteem. But here's the thing. So we're at the Palm Sunday in Israel, the place where the Palm Victory, where people came and waved palm branches to Jesus. There was a donkey involved there too. And that's why I didn't in Israel ride it. I did not want another death donkey experience. I didn't think my soul could handle it. But we're standing there and we're getting ready to take the walk that Jesus took on that donkey. And the Lord spoke to my heart. He always does with these crazy stories. And I'm just going to read to you from Mark 11 real quick. And this is the story of how this went down with Jesus. It's called sorry, Facebook people, I had to get my Bible. It's called the Triumphal Entry, and it says, now when they drew near to Jerusalem, to Bethphage and Bethany at the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent two of his disciples and said, go into the village in front of you, and immediately as you enter it, you will find a colt in which no one has ever sat. And then he goes on to say, take the colt and bring it here. And the people, it said, those who went before and those who followed were shouting, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And he entered Jerusalem and went into the temple. So basically they have this big victory. They want to call him king. And those same people, we all know later, were the ones crying, crucify him. Well, I don't know if it was the same, but that sounds much more scripturally dramatic. But that's the same way we can so quickly be. I can be worshiping him on Sunday and then on Monday not really want him to be king. But the other thing is that donkey was carrying the Messiah. And I don't know if Mary rode a donkey when she was going to Bethlehem. I know in all the nativity scenes she does, so that makes it right. But in that point, that donkey was also carrying Jesus. And what I realize is that we get to be like that donkey and carry the Messiah with us. Everywhere we go, we get to take him. And we get to, every place we step, make an imprint for him. If we remember, he is the one that we're carrying. But the problem is, sometimes we flip it. That donkey that died was not meant to carry the weight of me. Well, so often, I put my full weight on something that is not meant to carry me. Maybe you do that too. Like people's approval, please like me. If you don't tell me. Like being the perfect at everything I do. I can want to carry the weight of ministry. I can make that my idol, where if I just do enough for the Lord, that can carry the weight of the fact that we all need to be known, seen, and loved. And the only thing that can really carry that weight is not me making myself known, seen, and loved, because nothing is enough for that. That will always lose the weight of me and not bear it every time. But the one who can bear the weight of me and my needs is the one who carried the cross for me. And he is the one that I get to carry everywhere I go, like the donkey carrying the Messiah. And hopefully not following under the weight of my own, but carrying the weight of his, which is glory. So encouraging to me when I think about that. So I collected that memory of the donkey. I also, this is not in the book, but I have an elephant story. I might as well tell it too, because, you know, what are y'all going to do? Y'all got all day. I don't. I have to teach a yoga class after this. But I'll tell you the elephant story is that I was in Nepal riding on an elephant. And this also, I mean, I really have some animal issues, but we had this opportunity to pay for an elephant ride in the jungle. It sounded awesome, exotic, so fun. And so I'm like, yes. So I got 4 friends together. We paid for this elephant ride. The brochure said we would see all kinds of wildlife and that it was going to be amazing. And so we're so excited about it. And you have to climb a ladder to get on an elephant because they're really tall. Well, elephants are stinky and let me tell you, slow. I had only ridden on one at the zoo where you go in circles. You know, that's not quite as fun as an exotic jungle ride. But we get on top of this elephant and we're each on a corner of the box. And the guide is down here on the ground. Well, it was fun at first for like 10 minutes. But then the elephant just kept plodding and moving, slow, slow, slow. Elephants barely move. And we were not seeing anything but other people who had paid to ride elephants too. No lions, no tigers, no bears, nothing. And I was so disappointed in the elephant ride, and it was becoming boring and normal and just like your everyday elephant ride. And then, at one point, the guide down below, he whispered up, "Tapilai Danny Moticha," which translates, he was talking to me, "You are very fat." So, which they said that to me in Nepal all the time because it's a compliment, and I just tried to tell them that is not a compliment to an American lady. But he yells that, and then he says, "You're throwing off the weight of an elephant," which I chose, and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry in that moment, and I chose, like, you might as well laugh. So I'm laughing so hard, tears are running down my face, because in the back of my mind, I've already killed a donkey, and now I am throwing off the weight of an elephant. And so that feels like a good time to take a sip of coffee. So I'm on this elephant. He tells me that, and he said, "You're going to have to get out of the box and get on the head of the elephant while it's moving." I'm like, okay, I can't walk without tripping. So I get out of the box, get on the head of the elephant, which does not have handles or ears like handles like Dumbo. It has ears that go like this. So I'm holding on to the ears, and the guy down there gives me a stick to poke in different places, and I'm terrible with directions, so I will pretend I'm listening and I'm not. And he was like, "Poke here if you need to go left, poke here, blah, blah, blah." I'm totally tuning him out. So we're plodding along until the elephant sees its lover in the distance. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to go into details, but I'm going to say that elephant started running. And all of a sudden, what had been a very boring, ordinary ride became the ride of a lifetime as I was holding on to those ears for dear life. And eventually slid right back off the head into the box. And I told the guy, I don't care if I'm thrown off the weight of your elephant, I'm staying right here. Now, you may be like, Jen, why in the world are you telling the story? Well, part of the thing is the Lord speaks to me in these times. Like, he speaks to my heart through his Holy Spirit and through the power of his word. And he said the coolest thing to me at that point. He gave me the scripture, Ephesians 3:20, which says, I have immeasurably more for you. He is an immeasurably more kind of God. But what I learned is I can easily want to stay in the box of my comfort zone or what's normal or what feels safe, when in fact, if I will be willing to get out of that box, I will have the ride of a lifetime. And that is faith. And I don't want Confessions of a Coffee Cup Collector to just be a story of adventures that I've had. I wanted to write it to the experience of the fact that we all can get out of our box and trust Ephesians 3:20. His story is more than we could ever write into our own. And it often does not look like we expect. And sometimes it means getting out of the box. So I want to encourage you today. We can get out of the box, going back to the fact that he sees us, he knows us, and he loves us. I just want to share one more thing, and then we'll close. And again, I haven't really talked about coffee, so this will be, the closing will be involved. And each of my coffee mugs that I talk about has a memory of a story of where God has spoken to me or taught me something incredible through these adventures of faith. But I have spent a lot of time in airports because traveling around the world, and that's another fancy, me and my backpack, and my dad makes fun of me and my backpack traveling the world. But I have spent a lot of time in airports, and sometimes I've forgotten to buy the coffee cup from that country. And so even though they're $150,000 more at the airport, right, I have to get that coffee mug. So I'm in Turkey at the airport, which, first of all, this was right after Turkey airport had been bombed. So the rest of my team who went to Israel did not fly through the Turkey airport because they were probably smarter than I. What I found out is when an airport has been bombed, you can get there for like $200. Nobody wants to fly through there. So I got a ticket to Israel for $500 because no one wanted to go via Turkey airport. So it was smart. My trip was much cheaper than theirs, and we both arrived. So I flew through Turkey. On the way home, decided, because I had spent some time in Turkey, not just the airport, that doesn't count as visiting a country, that I needed to go to the airport Starbucks to get a coffee mug at the Turkey airport. So I'm in one section of the airport. I'm wearing a maxi skirt, super comfy, flowy, missionary, wholesome, you know, feel like a real traveling missionary. Needed my pearls and my kids, and I was good. And so I am in this airport, and I didn't have a lot of time, so I needed to get to the Starbucks quickly. And they have a moving sidewalk at that airport. And so, yeah, moving sidewalks are so intriguing to me anyways, because I really don't think you go that much faster, but they're real stinking fun. And so I was like, I'm going to take the moving sidewalk. So I'm on it, things are good until we get to the end. And my skirt was a little long, and the moving sidewalk was a little too fast for me, rolling my luggage. And the skirt got sucked into the conveyor belt that was moving the sidewalk. And before I knew it, it had sucked the skirt in, and I kept walking. I didn't know. So next thing you know, in a Muslim country, in a very conservative airport, I am standing there in all my glory, a few paces of where my skirt is no longer. And I look over, and all these people are like, and I have no idea. I'm like, I don't know what to do here. Like, I already checked my luggage. If I don't get this skirt back, it's going to be a long 20-something hour flight to Tennessee. So I decided, though, you know what? I'm going back for the skirt. So I had to turn around, go backwards, yank my skirt out of that conveyor belt, like pull as hard as I could, and I just put it back on, and I just walked off like nothing had ever happened. And I know I'm on a video somewhere there. But again, in that moment, the Lord spoke to my heart. It's so crazy the times He chooses to teach me things. And He was just like, Jen, this happens in life, in your life, and the people's lives that you get to serve all the time. The enemy is out to steal, kill, and destroy, and suck the life out of us. Jesus is here to give us life. He's here to take as much of our life as He can. And He wants to keep us stuck and from moving forward. And then He wants to lie to you about all the things that you're scared about, vulnerable about, afraid of, and He wants to make you stay right where you are, paralyzed by who you are, feeling ashamed. The enemy does that. But what we can do is we can turn around sometimes, face our past, or whatever that thing is that's made us stuck, pick it up, and then walk forward and keep moving on. And the only way we can do that is we have a John 8 kind of God who looked at the woman who had gotten caught in adultery and looked at her past and then said, go, you are forgiven, sin no more. Keep walking forward. So I hope that encourages all of us today. I'm sorry if you have a mental picture to go along with it. But when the enemy tries to suck the life out of you by your past situation, your fears about your present, keeping you paralyzed and stuck in one place, the Psalms 139 God who wrote your story for His glory is the John 8 Jesus who says, go, sin no more, move forward. Isaiah 42, 9 through 10. I love Isaiah. I've been writing a book on it for like 10 years. Y'all can pray that this is the year it actually becomes published. But Isaiah 42, which when the Lord told me to write Isaiah, I'm like, are you kidding me? That's a lot of chapters. And there's a whole chunk in the middle called Woe to Blank. And I am a 7 on the Enneagram. I don't like pain or anything that starts with a woe. So, but Isaiah 40, this is actually 43. I misquoted, sorry. 43, 18, and 19. Remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. And at that time, Isaiah was calling out, hey guys, you've been worshiping idols. You've been missing the Maker, the one who brought you to the promised land. Forget the old, walk in the new. And today He's calling us that too. And if we will walk forward, pick up what was our past and bring it to Jesus and walk forward, then we can keep walking and we can get that Starbucks mug that is proudly displayed at my house and reminds me, you're not stuck. You're not ashamed. Keep walking forward to what I have for you. And again, if you ever see me at an airport, be afraid, be very afraid, because not only that has happened, but I was at the Atlanta airport. I've had 2 incidences there. The first one was pumpkin spice lattes had just come out. And I was so excited. They had come out that day, and that was back in before I was like I drank girly drinks, like I call my dad's coffee girly drinks, because he puts like double shots of everything, sugar, vanilla, caramel. Now I'm hardcore and drink it black. But back then, I was looking for that pumpkin spice latte. And I should never balance a latte in my luggage in a backpack, ever. And I should not get on an escalator with people, either. But I am in the Atlanta airport, and I'm at the top of this escalator, the tall ones, yeah. And I have my coffee in one hand, my luggage. Getting it on an escalator with the luggage is a feat in of itself. But I had those 2 things balancing them. I'm at the top. Next thing you know, I don't know the people on the escalator. We hadn't engaged in conversation. I didn't know their names. We weren't best friends. But the next thing you know, I was trying to balance all that. And somehow, I wasn't a yogi and I wasn't good at balance, and I fell over. And so it didn't just take the pumpkin spice latte out of my hand. I went down along with all the people on the escalator, because it was like a domino effect. I'm down, and each one of them got a little of my latte. These are professional business people going professional places, and we end up at the bottom, seriously, literally in a stack at the bottom of the escalator, all together. Every one of them has a little bit of the fragrance of latte on them. We all get up, we look at each other. I don't even know their names. But you know what? I left an imprint on them. And I'm not sure that they loved it, I'll be honest. That was not the same time that I was at the top floor of the international part, which doesn't have a lot. At the Atlanta airport, there is a Starbucks, and I was drinking my Starbucks, leaned over the rail where people are walking underneath, and it fell out of my hand and fell on top of someone walking by. Like all of the coffee. I left an imprint. Not necessarily the one I wanted. But again, in that moment, the Lord spoke to my heart, and I need to find the scripture. And I know this is not meant to be. I know I really love diving into scriptures, like where you study a whole book or all those things. I really think the Bible is to really be in-depthly studied like that. I love it. But that these stories are meant to be a reminder that God is in the middle of our everyday, normal, even though it may not be normal, falling down an escalator stories, writing his glory in our stories. And that scripture comes alive in our everyday life. So Ephesians, I should have marked this if I was a professional. And it's in this book, so if I can't find it, I'll just give you the paraphrase. I believe it's Ephesians. Okay, forget it. It's in the Bible. I'll just give you the paraphrase. That the Bible tells us we are the fragrance, the aroma of Christ. We are to spread that. And what if everyone I come in contact with leaves smelling a bit more like the Savior? Because I spread that fragrance. I'm not sure that happened that day with the coffee, but what I can tell you is I pray every day, Lord, I don't want, even without saying a word, I want people wherever I go to know that you are with me and that you are the God that is taking me on your adventure story for my story, for your glory. It's all for his glory. Genesis 12 tells us that God told Abraham to go to a place that he did not know, and Abraham went. And the last thing I want to challenge you with today is God is calling each of us to a place we don't know. Well, we have a promise yet not received, and that's heaven. But until then, he has a plan for each one of us. And it's so funny. Everybody quotes Jeremiah 29:11. It's embroidered on pillows everywhere. You know, I know the plans I have for you. And but that is in the middle of the story of captivity. And we don't often talk about that. What I know is we have a God who's always rescuing my story for his glory. Always. And yours. And he is calling you to go to the place that you may not know and to let him write that adventure of faith. So I want to end with this. This is from the last chapter. And it says this. Hold on. Sometimes believing God looks like taking big, risky steps of obedience to the call of God. Take Abraham, for example. Belief meant going to a nation he did not know. He only knew he was called to go. Belief means trusting in a promise for a son when he was old enough to be in the nursing home. Risking what others thought, risking hope. And I want you to leave here risking hope. Because the enemy of our souls wants us to not hope for things. Because that means we have to dream that God is doing a work that we may not understand. And that he's even working in our waiting. Romans 4:20, no distress made him waver concerning the promises of God, for he grew strong in his faith. And I want to cheer you on in this. I got a coffee mug that my friend sent me. I didn't bring it, but it says, it's huge, and it says on it, Philippians 4:13. I mean, it's about as big as the big one on the back thing. And when you drink it up, when you turn it up, the inside says, enjoy life. And I would encourage you, the secret of coming alive and living fully alive is this: Christ. That's it. That's the final answer. And he is the one that will go where he's calling you to go, will do what he's calling you to do through you, and will be faithful to his promises that he's already made to you. He's the one. So I want to encourage you as you leave that you can leave here and live that adventure of faith with the reminder that he's not before you, he's all around you, and guess what? He's in you, so you get to carry him wherever you go. Father, I just want to pray for my friends that took the time this morning to come be with us. I just pray that you encourage each one of them. I don't know what dream they may be afraid to hope for or feel called to. I don't know what struggle they may be having even this morning to believe that you are who you say you are, because we all have those moments when we struggle to believe that you are who you say you are and that you're doing what you said you would do. God, I pray for anyone right now that is in the middle of waiting for something yet not received. that they will remember that you are working in the waiting, just like you did with Abraham, just like you did in the pages between the Old Testament and the New Testament, that you didn't quit being God, you still were working behind the scenes. God, I pray that we will carry you like the donkey did, that we will carry knowing that the Messiah is in us and that you don't want us to lean on the weight of anything other than you who carried the cross for us, to bear the weight of us. And so, Jesus, thank you for that. Thank you for your promises that are true and very true. And thank you that you are working in my friends' lives today. Thank you for this morning. And we just ask huge blessings. I pray that everyone here left hearing a word, not from me, but a word that you spoke that was as if it was just for them. And we just thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. My sister is going to close us here.